Hi, welcome to episode 4 of the American Narrowboater. This is Jack Beyer, your American Narrowboater, and today we're going to talk about setting up an itinerary for your narrowboat holiday in the UK. I've gotten a lot of emails from my high school friends saying, Jack, you left us kind of short. When's the next one coming out? Well, here it is. I know it's been a while. My only excuse is I went through the COVID-19 vaccine thing, and it second Moderna shot knocked me on my butt. Anywho, back in the saddle again. What we're going to talk about today is setting up an itinerary for a narrowboater from an American point of view. And let's talk about how do you pick a narrowboat to hire, and maybe we'll get into some of the costs. In the next vlog, we're going to actually talk about picking a site and getting there, how to get there and back. So, the big thing about the itinerary, that's your first point. And the itinerary, since most of you guys and gals know about RVing and getting in your camper and going down the road at 70 plus miles an hour to a KOA campground. You know how to get down. You cruise down the highway at 70 plus miles an hour till you get to a KOA. And how do you pick which KOAs? Same way. You're going to some place that you want to see, or you're going to visit people that you want to see, but there's some destination that you're trying to get to. It's really not much different doing a narrowboat. If you're into, say, the Jane Austen's novels, Bath. Bath has got a great canal. If you're into the theater or Shakespearean plays, Stratford-upon-Avon and the Globe Theater, it's absolutely a killer, and it's a great city, too, to visit. Sometimes you just don't care. You just want to get out and do something. And, that works fine, too. Because, see, England does have everything for everybody. Plus, it's got some of the greatest, warmest, welcoming people that you could ever hope to vacation with. Hey, whenever I canal boat, what I do is first I go to look at the canal map. And we talked about the maps and how to get online and see those last week. But, I have a big wall map, and here it is. And on my wall map, I can see where the circles are and so forth. And what I would recommend is you've got two major issues when you canal boat as an American and as somebody my age. The first issue is locks, because the most strenuous part of your trip will be operating the locks. Now, if you go during a prime seasons, most of the locks, or many of the locks, will be operated by volunteers, if you want them to. If you don't, you just tell them, hey, I'll do it myself, and you can do it yourself. But if you're a party of two, husband and wife, I wouldn't try to do more than 10, 15 locks in a day, and that's pushing it. If you're by yourself, I wouldn't try to do more than 8. You can if you want to. It's up to you. Most couples are doing this trip with another friend, another couple, and then, Katie bar the door, do as many as you want, because you got enough people to do the locking. It typically takes 15 minutes to go through a lock. And to operate the lock, you've got to crank open the paddles that let the water in or out of the lock, and you've got to push a heavy beam to open the gates. It's not hard to do, but it is a physical activity. So when you plan your trip, that's your first requirement. How many locks can I do in a day? And also, how many days do you want to do cruising? Do you want to visit cities along the way? Do you want to stop and, at each little town? Then I wouldn't plan on a long trip. That's the big thing. That and the fact that the second part of your consideration when doing your itinerary is to determine how many cities you want to go in. How fast do you want to go? Most English narrowboaters, especially what they call the constant cruisers, the people that either live on their boat or do a lot of continuous cruising, they love going slow, because that's what they're after, the experience. They're not after the scenery or the touristy things. Me, my son and I, when we do it, we probably go faster than we should. And for that reason, we cover a lot of ground. If what you're after is just a simple experience to see what canal boating is like, what narrowboating is like, and you don't care to see any big cities, then you just want to do something like the Monbrec Canal. And you can type that into Google, Monbrec, and it'll come up with a canal, the description for a 35-mile long canal, straight as an arrow, 6 locks. You can do it in a week. If you get a hold of a boat hire company like Beacon Park Boats that we talked about in our previous vlog, you'll have a very nice, comfortable trip. Or if you want to do what I would recommend is something like going south of Birmingham, somewhere around like Kings Norton, which is Abel Church Marina is a good one. And you can go from there down to the Severn River, or you can go down to Stratford-upon-Avon, or you can go up into Birmingham and beyond. Lots of opportunities, lots of choices. So the first thing you do is you pick your itinerary, and if you have any ideas that you want to run by me, please just, down in the comments, down below. Next, picking a narrowboat company. Woo! Narrowboat companies, in my opinion, this is Jack Beyer talking, they fall into 3 categories. Category 1 is the individual hire. Somebody that owns their own boat and they like to rent it out when they're not using it. Best place for them to find them is on Facebook. You just go in there and say Facebook. Under Facebook, just say Narrowboat Rentals, and up will pop at least one of the Facebook channels that has it. The other thing is you can go out to eBay in England, eBay UK, and they'll have narrowboat rentals. I believe you can find them on Airbnb. I just haven't had much luck doing that. But there are the individual narrowboat rentals. The other is what I call the brokers. Classic would be Waterway's World. I'll put that right there. Waterwaysholidays.com. They represent individuals as well as people that own like 3 or 4 boats or more, with small fleets, or fleets that don't have their own website or their own booking mechanism. And what they do is they will basically book the boat for you and connect you with the rental person. The third way, and the way I've almost always used, are the professional big hire boat companies. These are the equivalent to the Avises or the Hertzes or the big rental car companies, and they'll have dozens and dozens of boats. And again, I'll put some of their names down in the description in the back as well as down below here. The reason why I use them, and here's the advantages and disadvantages. When you're on a vacation, the last thing you want to worry about is something going wrong, because if it does, you want to get it fixed quick. The other thing you want to do is you want to be sure to cover yourself for cancellations, because that happens. Your airline gets canceled, you get sick, COVID-19 happens. And you're going to find that the brokers and the individuals don't provide you normally with that kind of cancellation. I'm not saying that they all do or all don't, but I'll give you an example. I was supposed to go canal boating for 2 weeks in June of 2020. I used Waterway's World to book a boat, and Waterway's World said, well, that's not a problem, and they booked it, and it was cheap. It was like $300 a week less than the big boys were renting their boats for. But when I read the fine print in the contract, there's no cancellation policy. If you want to do a cancellation policy, you have to get yourself some travel insurance. And guess what? The difference between the travel insurance and the rental from the big boys was about the same. What these individuals do is they know what the big boys are charging. They just discount based upon which of the bells and whistles that the big boys give you. They subtract that out, and then that way you don't pay for it. but sometimes you need it. And what happened in our case was after I had fully paid for the trip, COVID-19 happened, and that couldn't get out of the deal. Now, the owner finally agreed to pushing it down to August. And well, August wasn't any better. COVID-19 was still around. The owner then said, well, and by the way, the owner did book the 2 weeks that we had in June and did book the 2 weeks we had pushed it to in August. But so she still had our money and she had still rented her boat out. Then came along this year. So now we've got that same boat booked for June. Well, we said we can't do June. Same reason, COVID-19. She refused to honor it or give any money back, and we ended up now with waiting to see if we can't get any kind of refund or pushing it out till next September. So I've got about $3,000 tied up in a rental company that is small because they don't, and they do well because they don't give you all of the things the big boys. Of the big guys, the one that I use most often is ABC. And I like their boats. I like their service. They give a great training program before you actually get on the boat. They show you how to use the boat, and you don't leave the canal side without it happening, without knowing how to work the boat. The other thing is they've got a excellent Wi-Fi on their boat, and if that Wi-Fi doesn't work, you just call them and they give you another package, so to speak. You get more minutes. When we went on a trip in 2019, my daughter-in-law works from home and she uses a lot of bandwidth, and we ran out of the first package, and she just called ABC, and boom, next thing you know, we had another package at no additional charge, and I was very appreciative. The other thing is if anything breaks anywhere on the canal, they're there in less than an hour, and they're going to either fix it or they're going to make it right. And somehow, in one case I know of, they actually gave the party a new boat, and they left the old boat where it was. They put them on the new boat, which they had brought down to them, and off they went. So the advantage of the bigger company is you're not really paying that much more, even though it looks like you are, but you're getting a much more guaranteed and secure vacation trip. Okay, so we've talked now about why you would use a big company versus a small company, and we've talked about how that you need to have an itinerary, and you need to keep it on the back of your mind about locking, because that's important. And let's talk about now costs. How much does it cost to rent a canal boat? The first thing you want to talk about with pricing is it's just like when you go anywhere on vacation. There's different times of the year that give you different pricing. For me, the best time to canal boat is from the 15th of May to the 15th of October. Sure, you can go earlier and stay later, but you're going to be a little cold, a lot colder, and maybe even a lot wetter. I don't travel after the 15th of October in England. Yeah, there's plenty to do, plenty to see, and some great pubs to warm up in. But anyway, those are the best times. From about the 15th of June to around the end of August is your peak time for canal boating in terms of pricing. I like going in early May, late May. I go there normally the 3rd or 4th week of May, and I stay until maybe the middle of June. That to me is the prime time. I get the off-season rate, and I get great weather, and everything is fresh and new. All of the boats have been, winterized and then redone up for the season. So everything is crisp and new and less expensive. When I say less expensive, what do I mean? Okay, let's take a look at some numbers. On this slide, what you're looking at is the higher prices for what I call the big boys. That's up above, under boat hire prices. And you can see the cheap March rates versus the more expensive July and August rates. Down below, that's the Waterway's holidays broker type pricing. And you'll notice it is a little cheaper per week, because these are weekly prices, for a comparable narrowboat. And I'm really stretching it when I say comparable. Yeah, maybe better, maybe not as good. But I'm just trying to compare pricing, and you can see how if you do take the Waterways Holidays route or the broker route, you could save money. You know, when picking your itinerary, there are some guides. This one is called the Pearsons. And let me see if I can get a closer. There we go. It's a Pearson, and this happens to be for the Leicester, part of the Leicester ring. And they're very good in that they have, you know, a map, and then they show you some of the sites and some of the towns, and it's a nice guide. I get them whenever I'm going to go on a trip, make sure I've got the right Pearsons for that trip. The other book that I always use, and that is the Nicholson. There's 6, I guess, maybe 7 Nicholsons. If you want to know which one you're going to need, you can leave a comment down below, and I'll tell you which one. Same with the Pearsons. But let's take a look. In the front, on the front part of it, frontis is what it's called in book terms. You got a map of all the canals in England. And then on the next page, you've got the detail for that section. So I recommend them highly. I'd never travel without the Nicholson. Sometimes I don't go with the Pearsons, but I'll never leave without the Nicholson. Okay? Okay, now there's 2 other ways to do it. These are the online guides. The tool that I like is the Waterway Route Planner, and that's right here. And the best way to find it is just say Waterway Route Planner or canal planning software or whatever, and this will pop up. It's done by the Waterways Association of the UK, and these are the people that publish the Waterways World and several other great magazines. Wonderful organization, and let's take a look at their software. Okay, I'll use your cookies. What they do is they allow you to do route canal planning, and they can show you maps. Come on, machine. A little slow today. There, those are all the maps. And then as you zoom in on it, you can actually pick a canal that you're interested in. And let's try that one. Oh, it's showing me the locks. But, you know, get in there, play around with it. There is out on YouTube. If you do YouTube and say Canal Planner, it'll come up with a tutorial on how to use it. I do find it helpful, and I do use it when I plan my trips. The first of these online guides is just Canal Plan AC, and you just type in Canal Plan AC. It comes up, boom, and you click on this one. The actual URL, as you can see, is canalplan.uk. And a gentleman named Nick who wrote the software, he calls it Nick's Canal Route Planner. And if you want to plan an itinerary, this is probably the best place to go to. I'll let you figure out how to use it. It is fairly intuitively easy to do. As an American, there's one thing you've got to worry about. It's going to ask you if they can use your current location. You're going to have to block that and say no. Otherwise, it's going to try to find canal planning for you here in the States, and it doesn't find it. Okay, let's go to the other one now. You know, I absolutely love this tool. This is the Open Canal Plan. It works for the iPhone and it works for an Android phone. Unfortunately, I don't believe it works for the MacBook. I played around with it the other day and I couldn't get it to come down to my MacBook. This is what I use when I'm actually on a canal. And it does ask you for your position and so forth, but you get to actually see your boat go along the waterway. If you use the add-on, which goes with Google Maps, it will actually show you all the restaurants and all the shopping and everything else along the way. It's a great tool, folks, and I use it. I never cruise without it anymore, and I highly recommend it, obviously. Well, I hope you found this video useful. In the next vlog, we'll actually set up a fictitious itinerary. I'll show you how I would then use that itinerary to pick a canal boat hire company, how I would set up the actual reservations, and my travel itinerary. Plus, what kinds of things and gadgets and so forth, what should you bring along? Okay, this is Jack Byer, your American Narrowboater, saying have a great weekend.